All right. Well, smack bang on time. Here we are. I hope everyone is sitting comfortably. I certainly am. Welcome to the 2020 first Lego League WA information session, our online streaming and webinar action, and hopefully it'll be fun and interesting and useful, and hopefully it'll go relatively to plan as well. Without further ado, I'd like to acknowledge that we are on Wajak Noongar Budja, on Wajak Noongar land, and that this presentation is taking place on the lands of the Wajak Noongar people, and we give our respects and to the elders past, present, and emerging. I'd like to start with a little bit of an overview, first of all, and of course to welcome everybody along, and also a quick thanks to all the wonderful team behind me, producers, moderators, and presenters. We've had a great time setting up, so thanks to everybody in the first place. An overview. We're going to look at first Lego League. Now, there are some people who have never heard of it or have heard a little bit about it, and there are some people who have done it a number of times. So to all of you people, if you're new, obviously you'll learn quite a lot. If you have done it before, you'll learn some new things about 2020 and a bit of some new focus that we'd like to have on it. We're going to jump straight into the first bit in a second. Will be about the comp day and about what it really looks like. We're also going to talk about the why you would even bother doing this sort of stuff in the first place. We're going to look at some of the practical issues, the timeline of how to prepare for it, when the dates happen, and some of that will include costs and locations of competitions. There are 4 parts to the competition. We're going to look at that. You are going to see the Lego, and that'll be, I think, really useful. We're going to break down those 4 parts of the competition into some more detail. Then I'm very happy and honoured to have Mirela from Lathlain Primary School. She's the digital technology specialist there. Mirela is going to be the teacher's voice to all this. A little bit about the money and the possible grants you can get, and then we'll open it up to Q&A. The housekeeping for this online session is that our wonderful moderator Andrew is ready and able to take all of your questions and comments. Because we are running probably about a 40-second delay, there is no immediacy to the interaction. So if you have any question that you'd like answered, or some comment, or something that you'd like to have confirmed, then please send it through to Andrew, and he's got the unenviable task of summarising some of those comments and then feeding them through at an appropriate time. Most likely, we think at the Q&A, but that can happen at any time. All right. Well, my trusty producer Gina, I think we'll go to the next slide and start off with the day of competition, just to see what it all looks and feels like. Gina. Take that on for too long because that goes on for quite some time, but it's you get the picture and you get hopefully you get the vibe of what that a day of the experience is like. Just to add a few more details to that before I go on to the it's more than robots, about the why. I'll just say that the kids you can see there, 9 to 16 years of age. There are up to 10 students or children in a team, and there are between 20 and for finals 48 teams that participate in one of the competitions. The why. Now, this is pretty important. Why are you going to do all this? I think after my time doing this that I could break it down to 4 reasons, I think. For the kids, it's the 21st century skills. It's those, we all know what they are: creativity, communication, collaboration, teamwork, critical thinking, that are sometimes difficult to define, difficult to find a way to get those things into school, into experiences. The first Lego League does that in spades, and is a great reason to invest your time and energy into doing this. Further to that, the STEM skills, the skills that can actually be linked to learning areas: the maths, the science, the physics, the coding, digital literacies, design, technologies. I would argue very much so into the HASS area, literacy, and into the creative, artistic areas as well. So I think it's rich for this. Teacher PD, from surveys that we do and from anecdotal feedback just going around the schools and talking to team members and coaches, teachers get a lot out of it as well. Not only do they get out of it a lot individually by being a coach, but the way that they can work collectively for their own PD, either intra-school or inter-school, can be quite remarkable, I think. And then the one that I'm really passionate about is the way that the community more broadly can be engaged. And I'll speak to that a little bit later on in more detail, but it really is a great vehicle for engaging school, local council, government, parents, the community in this great STEM stuff. All right. So the timeline is the next thing that we're going to talk about, and it's done as a circle because for those of you who are already in it, you sort of know this. For those of you who aren't, it can become a bit of a revolving wheel of action. So I'll start in the left-hand side in the middle there, about June-ish, about now. That's when you register a team. You register at a central point nationally with the First Australia organisation based over East. It costs $475 to register one team, and you get one kit of the Lego parts, or $575 to register 2 teams with one kit to share between the 2 teams. And my understanding from talking to the national team is that will be open on Monday, latest on Monday. Then if you have registered early in August, hopefully early in August, your Lego kit arrives with all the mission models that your kids can build. It's also when the innovation project, or otherwise known as the research project, is defined more clearly by the national group, and kids can really get their teeth into the research project. And then pretty much the green arrow represents term 3 and term 4. You go around doing your work, doing your classes, living your life, constantly working on this FLL at the same time until around about mid-November to mid-December, when your team or teams will be able to attend one of the regional events, or a qualifying event is probably a better name, but they're called regionals. This year we plan to have one at Cecil Andrews College, St Stephen's School in Carramar, Gooseberry Hill Primary School, Atwell College, Averley Secondary College, probably the Wongan Hills Community Centre again out in the Wheatbelt, and one at Kalgoorlie at the Kalgoorlie Boulder Community High School, and in Geraldton at the Champion Bay Senior High School. So this is a pretty amazing year for us. And then those who are the best of that group, they go to the finals, the national WA district finals at Curtin Uni towards the middle of December. And then if you like it and it's fun, then you celebrate and you have a great time. If you win in the Curtin University finals, you may, as 5 teams won the right to last year, you may win the right to go to an international competition. And that may well be, in fact, as it suggests, international. Brazil, Japan, America were the places last year, but also an international comp that's based in Sydney. So it's not international for us, but it's international for others. And that didn't happen this year because of COVID, obviously, but that is a pretty amazing opportunity for kids. And Mirela can probably tell you a little bit about that when it's her turn. Then if that's all fun and games and then you want to do it again, you roll into the next year when the new theme, there's a theme for the whole competition. Early in the new year, there's a theme released and kids can start to get their heads around what the research theme is going to be about, and you can start to work that into your school. So it's pretty comprehensive opportunities there. All right. I think that's enough for the timeline. The next little slide looks at my way of thinking about what the kids actually do. And I'm breaking it into, on the competition day, there are 4 tasks or 4 areas of the competition that they are judged on or get scores on. There's the non-Lego half and there's the Lego half. The non-Lego half is the innovation project, or sometimes it used to be called the research project, so I'm going to probably use them interchangeably as a mistake, but I mean the innovation project, which all teachers will know as a more or less a science project. Find a problem, come up with a solution, present it, and we'll talk a bit more about that. The core values is really 21st century skills and what your team is, how your team works together. There's no real prep that you need to do for that, although you can work on it to get better scores, but you don't need to. Then there's the Lego half, which is how you design your robot, how you work your coding, how you create your strategies for approaching the game. Now, I've put a little box around all those because all of those are judged by a panel of judges or a number of judges. So that's interaction between the kids and experts, if you will, in that area. And they could be university students or local teachers or local professionals or anybody who volunteers their time. And I would also, at this point, just say it'd be a great idea for anyone who's interested, even if you're not going to do it this year, come along and be a judge or a referee for the game, because it's a great way to prepare yourself for being a coach in the future. And then there is the robot game. And that is the game that you can sort of see happening on the table there, and you all know about it. And at this point, I'm going to hand over to my colleague Sang, who is going to show you and tell you about the robot game and then a little bit about the robot design judging part. So take it away, Sang.
Hello and good afternoon. So I've been a robot design judge for over 3 years and a first Lego League referee as well. So I'll be taking you guys through the robot game aspect and the robot design today. So before you start, a few things that you guys can already see, that there is a massive table on over here, and that is something that is not provided by First Lego League, so schools and teams would have to build their own. Just as a guide, it's a 2.4 by 1.2 meters standard plywood table that you can just buy from Bunnings and then build it yourself. Or most schools usually ask the D&T department to get their students involved and make this. As with that, you also need a robot. So this year you have 2 choices. So you can either use this brand new edition called the Spike Prime, or you can go with, if you already have one in your school, the Lego and EV3. They both are exceptional at what they do, and they both would be able to do the same task. It's just a matter of new tech versus something that's well established and a lot easier to get help on. Once you guys register for a team or 2, you will receive a kit like this. So all the Lego that you see out here will not be built as you see. They will come in little bags. So what that means is either a teacher can build it herself or himself, which would probably take about 6 hours for someone like me to build it, or you can get your students involved. So a great way to get them to figure out how the mission models interact is to actually get them to build it. So I've seen schools sort of do a after-school pizza place where everyone comes together, all the team members get a bag of 2, download the instructions online, and then build this model. The kit also comes with this mat. So this mat, again, changes year to year. So this is from last year. It's called the City Shaper. So it's all about architecture and the buildings around us. Hence, you can sort of see the resemblance of cranes and road jams and things like that. Once you have those 3 things set up, you're pretty much good to go. So what you can do now is start researching into what kind of robot you want and start looking up how to make your table. The detailed specification is available online. If you just type in FLL table specs, and then you'll get all of that. So that's sort of like the housekeeping side of things with the robot game. What I'll do now is I'll pretend to be one of the competitors, and I'll walk you through how the robot game would actually work on the day. So on the day, these kids will be a team of 10. They're allowed to come and watch the robot game as it happens. However, only 2 technicians are allowed within close proximity of this table. They are the main handlers of the robot, so you are allowed to tag team members in and out. However, there is only 2 at any given time. So you can split your teams within subgroups, and they can tag in and out, because there is a whole range of challenges. So about 15 to 20 odd challenges every year that gets put out. So you want to kind of get everyone involved to try and do each little bit, like this challenge where you just have to lift up this little road jam, and that is how simple some of these challenges are. And kids have to design to it. So I'll pretend I'm the only technician for the group. This is my robot. It is recommended that you do not carry any programming tools like your computer or your iPad for 2 reasons. You're not allowed to program while you are within this space, so it's kind of useless. And once the game is finished, the kids are super excited and just want to go back to their beds to either practice more, or then they just want to go and enjoy the celebration of what they've just achieved. So they usually just forget it there, as a task for us to go and find them and return them back. So a change this year and last year to how things are, it's sort of more focused on building simple rather than complex. So there is 2 sort of sections out here. So you can either build small and simple and get bonus points for it, or go big and complex, depending on whatever the team strategy is. So once you come, I'll speak to the ref, leave all my equipment. So it will be no iPads and no other EV3 or spike primes on the table. Come here, leave it, ref checks I'm in 1 of 2 spots, and then we start preparing for our launch. So leave my robot here, plan all the work pieces, and off we go. Then I hear a big cheer, 3, 2, 1, Lego, and then the kid places the robot. Off the robot goes. Like, it doesn't always work. And what you will see I've done this year for people who have been watching First Lego Leagues for the past years is this year this is no longer the home base. So if the robot returns back within this area, it will actually be a penalty. So they do have to return back into this column, hence how my robot comes back here, and then I can interact with it and go again. So for people who are doing this for the first time, it is actually incorrect to say that the robot is only allowed to go out into the field once and must do everything. So the robot is allowed to come back. I can have it come back and modify parts and send it back off again to do different missions. Something that's very dominant in this year's map is you can see all these black lines that are connecting right up to the home base. So teams can actually take advantage of the color sensors that are already included in the EV3 kits or the spike prime, and actually try and track them to reach various places. Another thing is often teachers, when they go out to help their students as much as they can with providing them with a wide range of Lego to sort of build, because as you probably have already noticed that only the Lego components are allowed to be on your robot. So it goes to as detailed as even Lego string or Lego rubber band. So something that I recommend teachers to do if you don't already have a well-established Lego set is, instead of buying an expansion kit, just look online and see if you can buy like half a ton of Lego or something, which will be a lot cheaper and also will give your students a wide range of different pieces that they would probably not find in the expansion kit, and leave it up to them to like sort of imagine what they want the robot to be like. So with the robot game, they come here, they have now 2.5 minutes to do as many challenges as they can and gain as many points as they want to. They actually have 3 different rounds, so they're all independent to each other. So they can come out here and bomb the first round, which is totally fine because firstly, they're experiencing this new stress and pressure for the first time, just a different conditions, like a different table, different lighting, just a different place. So they might not be able to achieve their maximum. However, because they're all independent round, at the end of the day, the winner of the robot game is pretty simple. It's the person or the team with the most amount of points in any one of the 3 rounds. So if you bomb your first one, that's fine. You still have 3 more shots to go. So if anyone tells you ever that it's an average of 3 or some other funky math going behind it, it's totally incorrect. It's just the top most game, and that's pretty much it. Once you finish with the robot game, take all your equipment with you, and that's pretty much it. You sign off on a little tablet saying the amount of points you have, and in about a couple of minutes, you should be able to see your score on a big screen or a screen somewhere during the competition. So that's basically how the robot game aspect goes for first Lego League. What I'll move on to is the robot design, which is another Lego aspect to it. So the robot design. So robot design is a lot different to a robot game. It's also focused on Lego as well. So this time it's a team setting. So the entire team is invited to come into a room and speak to 2 judges. It's sort of like a bragging challenge where you're supposed to brag about how good your robot is, how good you have designed it, and what sort of strategies you have put into place. So there is 3 main areas for it. There is the programming aspect, which is basically the judges really want to see how well you have programmed the robot. And also it's sort of a safety check to see if any other parent or teacher has been overly involved with programming the robot. So we would really like the kids to say really simple things about how their program works. Like if the robot's moving 10 centimeters forwards, instead of just telling us it's moving 10 centimeters forwards, tell us why it's moving. Or it could be as simple as it's moving 10 centimeters forwards because we measured that was how the distance was to the first objective. And that basically tells the judges that it's actually a student-built program and not a parent or a teacher-built program. The next aspect of it is mechanical design, which is how you have come up with this whole design. Something that we really want to know is how your robot failed and how you have accomplished and solved that problem, because you only learn from your mistakes. So if you have seen your robot fail and you've found those challenges, it kind of tells us that you've thought about things. And again, the design is something that the students came with themselves and not a parent or a teacher involved. And the last bit is strategy and innovation. So this part is sort of the most trickiest part for especially young kids to get to. But it's basically, you have about 12 to 15 or even 20 odd challenges, and you cannot complete all of them in 2.5 minutes. So it's basically a scheduling task for the kids, is to weigh out the benefits and disadvantages of achieving one challenge over the other and how many points they can score for a given task. So they might want to talk about, oh, we chose this challenge because it was the closest, or it's a challenge that we loved as a team. Just things like that sort of like helps them get a tick in the box in the strategy and innovation. So the whole part is only 10 minutes and just a quick Q&A with the judges. And judges are normally wearing funny hats and trying to make the environment nice, cool, and easy. And that's pretty much all. And one last thing, while you're going through robot design, it's best to carry your programming device with you so that you can actually show the judges what the program sort of looks like, and also your robot. Over to Tim.
Thank you very much, Sang. Comprehensive and informative. Thanks, man. So the next bit that we're going to look at is the core values part of the competition, and I'll do this relatively briefly, not because it's unimportant, but because it is really part and parcel with the entire experience of doing First Lego League. You see the words in red there. The areas they're judged on are their inspiration, their teamwork, and their gracious professionalism, which means how they compete in a healthy and mutually beneficial way with all their other participants in the competition. They don't need to bring anything in, although they can bring props and things that explain who they are as a team, their team identity. But again, it goes mostly to the good communication, teamwork, collaboration aspects to it, and it is with judges for about 10 minutes Q&A. Although for those people who have done FLL before, in case you're going, yeah, we've heard all this before, Tim, there is talk of the judging changing somewhat to be a more combined approach. So they may look at the innovation project core values and robot design in sort of the one time period with a different makeup of judges, but so that just to keep you guessing and thinking. But we'll see how that turns out. The next area is the innovation project. Now, this is one of my favourite parts of it. The innovation project, again, to simplistically boil it down, it's essentially a science project. Here's a topic, go and research it and come back and do some funky presentation. The challenge and the richness in this part, I think, is the requirement to get better scores and the overall benefit of doing a rich project where you must talk to people in your community. Kids are encouraged to go to speak to people, businesses, organisations, researchers, who can inform them about the subject that they're looking at, and then also not only talk to them and get information from them, but to feed that back to these people. So there's a whole process of getting information, using it, analysing it, and then communicating back to your same community or broader community to make your team's vision and ideas and solution something that everybody can see and celebrate. There is a 5-minute presentation, and you can see in the picture there, it looks pretty funky. We've got a video coming up that'll sort of show you a bit more about that in a second, but 5-minute presentation, 5-minute Q&A, and that's what it's based on. Now, I just want to touch a little bit on, for those people who are wondering, well, what is the topic? We don't know about the topic exactly until the release in July, August. But a teaser, I mentioned before, a teaser theme video is normally released early in the year, and it is normally very broad. So an example is probably the best one is the animal theme that's in the middle there. There's some of the words that I've written for you. So you know that it's about animals. Well, that's great. Well, how do I know what the exact theme is? Well, it doesn't matter. When they eventually bring out the exact theme, it says something like this: identify a problem when people and animals interact. And that could be for any number of things. It could be pets, it could be farming, it could be zoos, it could be destruction of wildlife. It could really be, the mind boggles about the options. So from the teaser that you get during the beginning of the year, for this year, it's game changers, which looks at how sport can be changed, how exercise can be changed or adapted to meet everybody's, all people's requirements. And that could be people's with access challenges, or people remotely, or maybe it's esports. So it's, again, a very, very broad area. Look, it's one of the most richest parts, I think, of the whole competition. Now, if we go on now, Gina, to the video, people can have a look at an example of this, and a warning for your ears: the quality of the sound is very good, but it is in some sort of English accent. So just prepare yourself for an English accent.
3, 2, 1, action.
Good morning and welcome to our project presentation.
We are the Westlington Wasps. My name is Professor Sour.
And I'm Professor Sweet.
And we're the vegetables. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, action.
I'm Ant.
And I'm Derek.
And we'd like to welcome you to Ved's Got Talent. Thank you, and welcome to tonight's show. And what a show we have for you tonight. Let's head straight on to the first question.
To the nearest 10% of 200 Westminster School pupils, how many disliked Brussels sprouts?
Buzz, is it 70%, Derek?
Yes, you're right, Terry Tomato.
Yes, that's right. We surveyed all 200 children in our school to find out which veg they like and dislike. In fact, 71.5% of surveyed children disliked Brussels sprouts. Times that by all the school children in the UK who have school dinners, and that's the weight of 55 elephants of sprouts wasted in one meal. That's terrible.
Enough with the sciencey bit. We're trying to host a game show here.
Enough of that. Thank you very much, Gina. So there are, if you want more examples of these first LEGO League innovation project presentations, or sometimes as they are known in the past, research project presentations, I encourage you to have a look on YouTube. There's lots and lots and lots of them. Many of them have terrible audio, but nonetheless you get a pretty good idea of the theme and the way that kids approach it. So I think that's a very useful tool. I'd like to just take a look at the next slide, which is about, again, what I think is the richness of the whole first LEGO League, but in particular it seems to be linked to the innovation project, and that is engaging the community. Because all the team, and often broader than that, the class or the school is involved in supporting these teams, you get parents and families, friends and supporters all hearing about the topic, thinking about the topic, discussing the topic, you know, in cars and at dinner tables and at breakfast, and that talk of STEM bubbles out and ripples out into the community, which is really important. There's also an opportunity for teacher professional development, where teachers can exchange ideas either within their own school or between network schools, not just with the innovation project. That sometimes is more relevant for the coding and the design skills for the robot, but yeah, it can be any aspect of the competition. Back on the innovation project, I think it's really important that kids reach out to businesses, organisations, council, politicians, university researchers to find out more information about their project, to make their project more informed, richer, and also to then they can feed their project results back to these people. Not only does it enrich the experience of the community, but it also gets them more points as well. That's how they're judged. On that note, when I have their online profiles coming soon, we're going to produce some profiles this year of Curtin University researchers that are linked to this year's theme, and launch them in National Science Week. So any of your teams can go onto our website, look for those Curtin researchers and start to think about some of the problems that they have identified within the 2020 FLL theme, and many of them will be contactable as well by schools. There is a great example of this community engagement was in the Hills last year. I've got a very long quote which you can read yourself if you wish as I babble on, but the Bendigo Bank financially supported a number of schools in their area, but far more than that, the community, the council, the government, the teachers all became involved in supporting this the first LEGO League participation of their schools. So much so that one of the teams even had an actual impact, or two teams rather, had actual impacts on projects that were being implemented in their community. One was a water filter in the stormwater drain, and the other is a development of a playground in the hills. So that's pretty amazing opportunities for kids to show that they can have an impact. All right, so at this point, enough babble from the Curtin people. I'd like to throw to Mirela. Mirela can really give a much more close to home version of what goes on because she's at the front line with the kids. So without further ado, Mirela.
Thank you, Tim. Can you hear me? Yep.
Yes.
Awesome. And hello, everyone. So I've been participating in the first LEGO League for a few years now as a volunteer and as a mentor. So I have both aspects. I recommend both. And I guess I started because we do a STEM club at Lathlain, an after school one. And then we have some EV3s, just a few. But then I heard about a Google grant, which I think Tim's going to talk about soon. And we did apply and we received a Google grant, and that got us started. So we received a robot and an entry and a place and Lego and the placemat. And just want to tell you how, I guess, the process that we went through. So first we had to choose some students. We only had one team, so we chose 10 students. And then they were from year 4 to 6 because we're a primary school. Chose them based on ability and interest and availability, and so they weren't too busy already, and independence and enthusiasm. If they were enthusiastic to learn and have a go, we picked them. And I say we because I asked some other teachers to join me, so I wasn't on my own. So we didn't choose all coders. We made sure that there was a variety of students, which helps because it's a competition that's quite broad and not just about the robotics and the coding. Encouraged a lot of females to join. We always had at least 50% females. Because being a female myself, I'm very motivated to get more females into STEM and coding. So we used our ICT lab, which the kids were used to. All the kids do coding these days. It's in the curriculum. So from year 1 to year 6, they have coding classes. We borrowed some EV3 kits from SciTech. So that ensured that every child knew the basics of that robot. That was super helpful and gave a lot of confidence to the kids. Getting together, it was after school for us. I know that some schools do it as part of their curriculum, which is a great way to go. But usually we spent 1.5 hours after school, and then closer to the date, it was twice a week, and sometimes on the holidays and the weekends. So it depends how much time the kids needed. I was just there to make sure they could get together. Yeah. So the table, as mentioned before, Bunnings did help us out with the materials, and the local men's shed built it for us. So that was super handy. We just gave them the instructions, so that can be done. And also just wanted to mention again that it's not all about the robotics game. The kids feel so bad when they can't code or make the right attachments, but we made an equal focus on the project and the core values. We did a lot of activities to build teamwork, and that really worked for us. The team was independent and confident, and it worked so well that we did do really well in the regionals and even in the nationals at Curtin last year. So highly recommend all areas are focused on. Decision making, always focused on that because that built the team. One time we spent 1 hour passing around a stick so that they would learn to turn take, just to decide what logo and t-shirt they were going to design. It was super funny, but the logo was fantastic afterwards. The best logo we've ever seen because of the detail they put into it. It's okay to have a basic robot. I found that very handy, and in fact the more simple it worked, it was more reliable. So the more complex you get, things don't work as much, it's harder to code, and you can still do well with that. Yeah. Decision made. So rubrics, have a look at the rubrics. Don't know how much time I have left, but I was going to say that the rubrics help. Give the kids the rubrics because the judges use the rubrics, and then like if you read them, you know what you're kind of trying to do. Collaboration wise, highly recommend that the kids can access the work from home because to encourage that independence and teamwork, they need to collaborate. So if they're making a PowerPoint, put it on Google Drive or Office 365. We did that and it worked really well, teaching them to organize files. Motivation wise, food. Make sure you have food. You wouldn't have expected that one, but the second I brought in food, oh, the kids were so happy to be there. So that's my one motivation for them, taking small steps, having separate rooms available, especially if you have a big team. They loved going into different rooms and just doing what they needed to do and then come back at the end and report to the rest of the group. And it helped to not have as many distractions. So I highly recommend separate rooms and quiet rooms where they can just go. Yeah, and the kids chose their roles. They were able to swap the roles. They all did swap. So they're not stuck on something. They don't feel stuck as a coder or as a researcher. Yeah, and some other notes that I thought, share your good news stories with the local newspapers. If you're a department school, with the media department, they'll put it on Twitter. And be a volunteer for the first Lego League because they're always needed, especially with so many regional competitions. Yeah, and I really do enjoy the experience. So I'll continue to volunteer, Tim. And yeah, you learn a lot about yourself, about students. It's something that they will remember for the rest of their lives. That's what keeps me going, because I think you've affected someone, and not just them, because of the project you influence so many others, hundreds of kids and community members. So yeah, thanks for joining us.
All right, well, thanks, Mirela. That's great words. And yeah, I think, Mirela, you undersold yourself. You know, the way they were one of the champions that came out of the national finals and were ready to go international, but unfortunately couldn't make it due to our pandemic. But let's try for next year, or rather for this year. Okay, so we're probably slightly over time than where we were planning to be, so I'll just rush through this next bit. Money, obviously, that's very important. To restate that, the national group that sets this, they say one team with one team rego, one kit of mission models, 475. 2 team regos and 1 kit is 575, which is in fact the limit per school or organisation this year, because they had to limit the number that they were ordering from Lego, because they didn't know what to predict with the COVID stuff. If you want to buy a Lego Spike Prime, the basic robot kit costs about $520 from a retail or online outlet. The expansion kit's about $150. You don't need that, but you can get it. And a game table, if you're lucky like Mirela and you get Bunnings to make it for you, well, that's great, but it probably costs you maybe $200 or something like that. So here's my funky animation. Show me the money, people. Where do you get the money from? Well, you can get it from many places, and you can be creative about where you go, to council or to your school. Sometimes there's federal grants, local businesses, sponsors, etc. But the next click, Gina, will take you to the Google grants. Google grants have been around for a while, and they're not going away for a while. You can access them there. Don't worry about writing this down. I will send this out or have it available on our website by tomorrow evening. You simply, if you do this grant application and you get it, which you are likely to do, not guaranteed, but likely, you will get 1 Lego robot kit. Now that might be an EV3 or a Lego Spike Prime, depends on their suppliers, but you'll get 1 robot. You'll also get a past First Lego League competition kit, so you can practice with those bits of Lego. Then you'll also get the first year of registration free, which means you'll get another FLL comp kit, the Lego mission models. And you are supposed to say, yes, I will do this for 2 years if you get all this, and we would encourage you to do that. You also get mentoring and support from First Australia. We support teams in as many ways as we can, and that's a good way of getting some free stuff from out of Google. Now, this is what you have to do to get a Google grant application. Gina, can you show that next video? This is all you have to do, people.
We would really like to join the first Lego League this year, and we would like the help from Google to make it there.
We are a new school that started in 2018, and we don't have the funds for many resources yet.
This grant will help us to build a robotics program at our school and provide the resources for the future years. I think the first LEGO League will give me the chance to show my creativity and make new friends.
It will be interesting to see what the other schools have built and what their robots look like. It sounds like a really great opportunity.
I would like to join the LEGO Robotics program.
Please support Averley Secondary College and help us to develop STEM within the school. Thank you.
And that's it. You make a 60-second video, put it on public YouTube, and you're ready to go. All right, at this stage, we will hand over to any questions that we may have, and I'll put us in the trusty hands of Andrew.
Okay, couple of questions around EV3s versus LEGO Spike Prime. How long are LEGO Spike EV3s likely to be supported? Can we use both?
That's a Sang question, obviously. Sang?
Yeah, so the EV3s are going to be supported for quite a while. They don't really need much support other than just LEGO, really. They last quite a bit, so the ones that we have lasted about 3 to 4 years compared to the new Spike Prime. So I haven't had much play with them as of now, but like, just by looking at it, they seem a little bit better in terms of geometries, as these are nice cube shapes compared to bulky motors and so forth. So both are exceptionally well. I believe EV3s and Spike Primes are close in price range as well. But at the end of the day, it's how much LEGO you really have. They both can be programmed in the LEGO EV3 software, so they both have Scratch equivalents if teachers are more familiar with Scratch. But I believe there are plans to make it all open to any programming language, so you can use Java or C++, things like that. But yeah, short answer is they both are exceptionally well. As of now, they both are basically equal. So whichever is cheaper, and if you already have an EV3, might as well go. And feel free to use both of them because you can change robots between competitions or between rounds as well. So you don't have to bring in the exact same robot that you bought in the first round compared to the second round. So the only criteria is that once you have a robot in here, you can't then swap it for another brick or anything like that. So yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, the only thing I'd add is, because I'm not the tech expert, but from listening to the LEGO education people, they are, as Sang said, both will be able to use Scratch. The LEGO Spike Primes use Scratch, which seems to be a better platform for the coding people. And I guess that's probably more of a question for LEGO education people, but we haven't had too many complaints so far. And the LEGO Spike Primes, if you haven't bought one and you want to invest in it, I'd go for the LEGO Spike Primes at this stage because that's where all the attention is going.
Okay, Mirela, this one might be best suited for you. Questions about what makes up the best number in a team.
Thank you. Yes, I don't recommend 10. I tried it. Keeping them on track was super difficult, and making sure, like, if the students have a role, they will focus on it for amount of time. Around 5. We had 8 previously, and even that was okay, but maybe 6. Then if I have to pick a number, I would say up to 6, so that they're not on their own and doing everything by themselves with 3. But if I double that, I would do 6. Yeah.
Great. A couple of people want to know about the registration process, and has that opened up yet?
It has not. I checked. Well, at least it hasn't. It wasn't open before we started this live stream. I don't anticipate it's open now, but I hear that it will be open at the very latest by Monday. I've just given the national guys our WA regional venues and dates. They may be subject to some minor changes, but probably not very much. So Monday is the answer to that question, and I'll include that information in the sort of follow-up email. But it's pretty simple. If you Google First Australia, then you'll get the firstaustralia.org website, and that's where you do the registration.
Okay, that's brilliant. There's a lot of very other questions which have got one person, one vote, that sort of thing. And rather than go through them all at once now, we will answer all of the questions that have come up on the chat, and that's been recorded now, so we can load all of those back up onto the website. And of course, if you do have follow-up questions, STEM Outreach at curtin.edu is the email address, or t.keely. And you can get in touch with us and let us know for sure your nitty-gritty specific questions that you want to know all about. We'd love to help out with those.
Absolutely. All right. Well, if that's wrapping it up, then thank you everybody for taking part in this. Thanks very much to Mirela for your contribution. It makes it absolutely real. Thanks Andrew, Sang, Alicia, and our producer with the most on the ones and twos, Gina Pierce. Thank you very much. And yes, please contact me for any other questions. Goodbye.